Hello, everyone. Do you go to church every Sunday? Are you excited to go to church every Sunday? If this is your first time, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Rowena, and in 2011, I wrote my first book, The Spirit of Worship. And in this video, I'm going to share with you the main reason why I wrote that book. So I was born and raised in a conservative Christian family. So I'm familiar with going to church every Sunday, going to prayer meetings, church choir practice, Bible studies, visitation, and all those kind of stuff that, we do in church. But growing up, I would still be going to church, but there's something inside me that has already started, asking questions why we go to church, because we meet the same people and we just go through a program, like a formal program, step by step, very formally. And yeah, of course, we do some fellowship also, but it seems like I felt like there's really something more to just going to church, because worship service is not just a program. So I think somewhere early 2000s, I read a book called Grace Walk by Steve McVey. And this is when I realized, and I really felt so free. I was like liberated from all the like obligations of the church traditions, church practices, because I started believing that I would like to go to church because I want to, not because I have to. The basic definition of worship actually in the Bible is proskuneo. It's in my book, actually. If you care to get a copy, you can find it there. Proskuneo meaning like to bow down, to prostrate ourselves. So the basic meaning is saying that bowing down is regarding myself or ourselves lower than the person we are bowing down to. So meaning that we are ascribing a higher value, or the highest value is that's the person, or that's something actually we worship. So that's why I also say everybody worships. So you and I worship something. But unfortunately, most Christians feel or feel like we do that only on Sundays. And then what happens is it becomes an obligation where after Sunday, then we go back to our regular programming, regular activities. Oh, because I've already given my time to God, so this is my time. I will do whatever I want with the rest of the week. And sometimes when as I remember when I was a kid, I was excited to go to church, not because of going to church, but because sometimes we would go somewhere after church, maybe restaurants or the mall. So that's where the excitement would be coming from. But anyway, growing up, as I get more focused and more conscious about living and about the Christian life, I have begun to meditate. I have begun to like figure out what is really worship. So like I've said, it's the word proskuneo is bowing down ourselves to someone higher or of the highest authority. That's why we see the act of like kneeling, bowing, and sometimes kissing of the feet. So in the Bible, we will see that when people, if you remember the woman who kissed the feet of Jesus, that's an act of worship. So she gave her all, she gave her year's wage of perfume, and washed the feet of Jesus and with her and wiped them with her hair, and then she kissed the feet of Jesus. So that's a form of worship. So worship is actually this, ascribing to someone a higher or the highest value. So that's worship, not just going to church and then performing activities and meeting people and having fellowship, having lunch. So what like we usually do usually even in Filipino churches. But anyway, what I would like to remind everyone in this video is every day we actually worship. Whatever we wake, whenever we wake up, and get excited about something that we're going to do for the day, take note and be cautious, because we might be focusing on something other than God before we really commit to the day. What I'm trying to say is, whatever occupies my mind, your mind, our mind throughout the day is actually what we worship. When we can talk about something for several minutes, several hours, like it gets you so excited, so obsessed about something, it's actually what we worship. So if it's like a sports team, if it's your work, your car, even your family, sometimes our kids, loved ones, so sometimes it could get in the way. But let us remind ourselves, and this is also a reminder for me, that what I focus on, what I kind of obsess myself on, is my worship. But if we commit this work to God, commit this obsession to God, and commit the day, whatever we're going to do for that day, to God, that is going to be our worship. Now, going to touching on the verse, John 4:24, God is spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. I just want to say, just a quick summary, that truth and spirit are two important ingredients in worship. Why? Because when we actually realize and recognize the truth and acknowledge the truth about Jesus, who he is, because he is God himself. God revealed himself in the person of Jesus Christ. So if we realize who this person is, the creator of the universe, the source of our life, our natural response is worship. If we have the right spirit, we naturally worship. So what elicits this response of worship is actually the truth, knowing, learning, and meditating, and really like immersing ourselves in the truth about who Jesus is, what he has done, and what he's continually doing in our lives. And then, if given the right spirit, because it's the spirit in us that stimulates us to respond to that truth, and it is the act of worship. And also in Romans chapter 12, if you remember, the Apostle Paul said, present your bodies as living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual act of worship. So our act of worship is not separate from our daily activities, meaning we don't worship only in the church. When we go to a church building to meet other Christians or other believers and we worship together, it is a very small part of worship. The real worship happens inside. Remember, even the Apostle Paul said, Saul, it was his name before. The Apostle Paul said that your body, know ye not that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. So worship happens in the house of God. So our body is the house of God, the temple of the Holy Spirit, where worship actually happens. So what goes on in our mind, what goes on in our heart, and what comes out of our mouth and our actions are actually part of the whole worship. Our whole life is actually worship. So it's just a reminder for you and for me especially, because I'm also doing this to make myself accountable to myself and to God. Because as I share this, it's also a reminder that I should be looking out for these things in my life. As a reminder, worship is what we do every day, what we offer every day to God. If we do our best to be kind to other people, be good to other people, if we manifest the God who is in us, the God who we worship every day, not only on Sunday, that is an acceptable kind of worship, because God doesn't glory in ritualistic, legalistic kind of acts and worship. He knows our hearts. He knows our minds. So we cannot fool him. We can deceive other people when we go to church, feel like emotional and singing, very seriously. But if deep in our heart, we're not really meditating on the truth. What truth are we trying to internalize, immersing ourselves in, and then praising God for and thanking God for when we do those things. Just it's nothing wrong. I mean, I am not saying stop doing that, but just check that if I sing, if I cry, if I raise my hands, am I really worshiping God? So if yes, then good. God is surely happy with that kind of worship. But more importantly, it's our everyday lives that we offer to Him, our work, our thoughts, our words, our actions are actually the a big part of our whole worship. So my book, The Spirit of Worship, discusses a lot of things, some examples, and of course a lot of verses related to that. If you want to grab a copy, it's still available on Amazon.com. So as a reminder, we worship God every day. What we think, what we say, how we act, how we behave is the part of our worship, not only on Sundays. But just a reminder, I mean, just keep meeting in fellowship with other believers Sundays, and remember to stir up one another, build up each other, and then remind each other that we are worshiping God every day, not only on Sundays. So I hope you found something valuable in what I shared today, and I hope to see you in my next video. Stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, and God bless us all. Thank you. Bye.